Welcome to the VAR Brussels edition, the Volunteering Advocacy Report from February 2021 from the Centre for European Volunteering, CEV. The interest group on volunteering in the European Parliament, hosted by the co-chairs MEPs Irena Joveva from Renew Europe, Michaela Sodrova EPP and Dominic Ruiz de Vesa from SND, met online on the 12th of November 2020, gathering MEPs, their assistants and 30 representatives from other stakeholders. There was discussion and update on the EU Solidarity Corps, especially the implications and realities of virtual volunteering projects and the COVID-19 situation on the sustainability of the hosting and sending organisations. The next VIG meeting will be on the 23rd of March. We will discuss about the 10th anniversary of the EYV 2011, the new blueprint for European Volunteering 2030 and the European Solidarity Corps. Don't forget to send your suggestions and ideas for the topics for future VIG meetings. The COVID-19 crisis situation has highlighted the weaknesses and vulnerability in the ESC programme when needing to adapt in a force majeure situation. CEV has been collaborating with other organisations participating in the ESC programme in order to identify these issues and formulate proposals for improvement, in order not only to alleviate immediate negative impacts, but also to improve the programme for the future. The programme is also still awaiting the official adoption, but the political agreement has been reached in the trialogue in December 2020, and it has seen the exclusion of the traineeships and jobs strand and the inclusion of the humanitarian aid strand, with 6% of the budget. With an age limit of 18 to 30 years old for the volunteering strand and 18 to 35 for the humanitarian aid strand, with the exception for coaches, mentors and experts. We have been collaborating with the ESC Resource Centre Advisory Group and participating in online seminars addressing what is meant by solidarity and how volunteering, and in particular the European volunteering programmes, reflect and support solidarity in Europe. The work of the expert group on mobility of young volunteers and cross-border solidarity has concluded. The recommendations from the group have been sent to the European Council and are due to be adopted during the Portuguese presidency of the European Council in the first part of this year. In October 2020, we organised a webinar where we presented research results from the Europe for Citizens project VOCIS, Volunteers as a Force of Solidarity in Times of Crisis, examining attitudes and perspectives on volunteering and volunteers, especially during crisis situations. In November 2020, we also hosted a webinar to share the outcomes of the Making It Matter project, co-financed by the Erasmus Plus programme, where the policy recommendations developed in the framework of the project focused on the measurement of impact of volunteering on disadvantaged young people were presented to representatives from DG EAC and other stakeholders. We are happy to announce that the new Europass CV includes the possibility for users to explicitly reference their volunteering experiences in a separate section in the CV, alongside sections on employment history or formal education qualifications, for example. The new template makes it easy and accessible for volunteers to give visibility to their volunteering engagement and to any skills and competencies gained whilst volunteering. Also, in collaboration with DG EMPL, we continue contributing to the European Qualifications Framework Advisory Group. We are giving our suggestions for the objectives and format of the second European Validation Festival to be held later this year, and to the revised European guidelines validating non-formal and informal learning. Together with the other network members, we have continued to try to ensure that European civil society networks will have a specific way to contribute to the Conference on the Future of Europe and to the national recovery plans using the Next Generation EU funds. With other members of Civil Society Europe, we participated in the launch of the Civil Society Convention on the Conference on the Future of Europe on 3rd of February. We will soon bring more news on how this convention will function and how you can contribute. We are pleased to see that our advocacy efforts have contributed to the announcement of increased funding for volunteering and civil society organisations in the new multi-annual financial framework MFF proposal. The German presidency of the Council of the European Union reached a political agreement with the other European Parliament negotiators that includes reinforced financing for some EU programmes, including the new Citizens' European Rights and Values Fund, CEV, and the Erasmus Plus by an additional 15 billion. We are also pleased that the new social inclusion agenda includes practical recommendations for action related to volunteering, specifically to promote exchanges with the host societies through volunteering, sport, non-formal education, youth and cultural activities, and financing projects to promote volunteering actions co-designed by migrants and host communities, for example mentoring and buddy programs between local communities and newly arrived migrants. As a member of SDG Watch Europe, we have been contributing to the continued development of the MEPs for SDGs group, a dedicated informal group open to MEPs committed to sustainable development to bring them together with civil society organisations. CEV's presence in this process highlights the important role of volunteers for reaching the SDGs and the need for suitable policies and programmes to support them in their efforts. We have continued to contribute to the activities of the ESC in highlighting the crucial role of civil society in the recovery process from the crisis created by the COVID-19 situation, urging policymakers to consider the needs and role of civil society in their future planning for immediate and long-term recovery. We will organise a session together with the ESC SOC section as part of the 2021 Civil Society Days to be held online in March, entitled "The Role and Economic Value of Volunteers in the Road to Recovery and Beyond." CEV partnered with the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction and the European Committee of the Region's Natural Resources Committee to hold a virtual workshop on local level resilience and pandemic risk as part of the European Week of Cities 2020 and marking the celebration of the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. Cristina Piva, Councillor for Volunteering and Education of the City of Padova, EV Capital 2020, made the critical case that resilience to disasters at local level would not be possible without the contribution and engagement of volunteers. Building on our change of gear document that is available in several European languages, we are now focused on drafting the new Blueprint for European Volunteering 2030. Capitalising on the occasion of the 10th anniversary of EYV 2011, we are gathering around the hashtag EYV+10 to share our memories of EYV 2011 and the progress since then. The blueprint will complement PAVE, the policy agenda for volunteering in Europe, exploring less on the procedural matters of quality, infrastructure and legal frameworks, and more on the heart and soul of volunteering. What values are being expressed through volunteering? How volunteering is an expression of democracy and solidarity. How volunteering strengthens our own understanding of democracy and solidarity. We don't want policymakers to see volunteers solely as a source of people power and with a purely task-orientated approach. Although having a meaningful task to undertake whilst volunteering is important, and having a meaningful impact in volunteering is very important, we want policymakers to really understand not only the practical outputs of volunteering, but actually the role that volunteering has to play in social cohesion, in interpersonal relationships, in bringing people together and keeping the communication and dialogue open between ourselves and each other, making European values a reality. We'd love to hear your suggestions and ideas for the blueprint, and also to receive your VARs, volunteer advocacy reports, from where you are. Until next time, goodbye.